Thank you, Kim. This week's meditation is from the Science of Mind. It's from a class that I'm taking with Reverend Nadine called Self Mastery. And it really spoke to me this morning, and I want to share it with you. The title is My Vibration Attracts Friends to Me. I am never alone, never lonely, for I have as companions and friends those people who are drawn to me by the ever active and immutable law of attraction. I desire to be loved, therefore, I allow myself to love greatly, to feel warmly inclined toward people, to be interested in them and helpful on their behalf. I give as I wish to receive. It is not enough that I profess to love people. I must really love people more dearly than I have ever loved before, because they are all my family. I do not outline who shall be my friends and companions, for there is no desire to coerce, compel, or suggest to anyone. The law of attraction brings into contact and relationship with me all those people in whose company I find the greatest profit and enjoyment, and to whom I may give the most. I am happy and radiant, for I enjoy at all times perfect companionship. I trust implicitly the law of attraction to bring into my environment and atmosphere friends and loved ones, and establish for me a community of interest and helpfulness. As I love and cooperate with my fellow people, so do they love me and give their cooperation to me. I am happy in all of my companionships and relationships because they are worked out perfectly by the law, and the law is motivated to work for me by my love for people. My loving thoughts of others attracts friends to me. Think of this week as you go through your daily life. Thank you. And so it is.
And now, bringing to a close our new November theme, A Consciousness of Sacred Service, is today's speaker, Reverend Soni Cantrell Smith, with their talk entitled, How May I Serve? But first, a little bit about Reverend Soni. Reverend Soni is the founding minister of the Ahava Center for Spiritual Living, now serves as in our organization as its spiritual leader. She's a musician, a playwright, a strong advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion, and writes about the role our teaching plays in social justice issues as a means for social engagement for our organization. Reverend Soni has been active in 12-step work for over 30 years and teaches spirituality classes in the Hope Center of Rehabilitation for Women, and is co-founder of Bluegrass Rainbow Faith Communities. She has formerly served Centers for the Spiritual Living as a member of the Ministers' Council, Nominating Council, and Task Force, and as an interim minister. Reverend Soni believes that we are all spiritual leaders and that we must be able to articulate our vision in support of a world that works for everyone. Please join me in welcoming Reverend Soni Cantrell Smith.
All right. Aloha, everyone. And my beloveds, thank you so much for inviting me here today. I wish I was in Hawaii, to be honest. It's raining and it's kind of dreary here today in Lexington, Kentucky. I wanted to share with you this morning about Save a Service. And service is very important to me. In fact, it was last year around this time that I was asking in my meditations, how may I serve? And of course, what happened was I ran for spiritual living and for the community as the spiritual leader. And doggone it if I didn't get elected. So I really kind of hesitate to ask, how can I serve anymore? But of course I do. So Seva service, what is it? Seva is an attitude as much as it is an action. And Seva, defined as selfless service, is when you approach the world around you from the perspective of what can I provide to uplift and serve humankind. Serving, you see, is an expression of deep gratitude for me. And starting with our breath, each of us receives immeasurable blessing every day as that individualized expression of the infinite. And participating in Seva is a natural response rooted in gratitude. When we are conscious of our connection as the presence of the divine, serving others is a way of expressing thanks and responding to the gifts we receive and the gifts that we are. Seva, you see, allows us an opportunity to be compassionate, to engage our world and our community. And when we come from the place of compassion, there's no room for judgment of the people we serve. What I mean by that is the act itself is one of gratitude. Now, in First Peter 4:10, each one should use whatever gift he has received to serve others, faithfully administering God's grace in its various forms. And Psalms 24:1 says that the earth is the Lord's and everything in it, the world and all who live in it. So here's the thing. What we have been given is temporary, and it has been entrusted to us. We do not own anything. Our bodies are temporary as well as our possessions, and we take none of this with us. So the question becomes, what do I leave before I go? Was I a blessing to the world, a blessing to my community? Over the last few years, I really have been learning a great deal about what it means to be of service to another human being and to a community. And there's still a great deal for me to learn. I'm learning every day, and I hope that I will continue until I take my last breath to learn. I think being of service to others means going way beyond our ego and our own needs and wants. And in fact, real service is without ego. Service to others is about being there for someone with no expectation of anything in return. Being of service is not about being famous or being recognized, and it's not about awards or compensation. I think it's simply about being there with your heart wide open to support a cause, a person, or even just a group of people. In a world where we seem to be obsessed with material possessions, job promotions, fame, and money, there are still people who understand what it means to be of service to others. For example, Martin Luther King understood that service started with his belief in God. He then discovered that his purpose or cause was to provide service to those within his community and his nation. Through his selfless service, he helped change the lives of millions of individuals and will continue to do so long after his death. It was the same for Gandhi, Ella Baker, Dolores Huerta, and others. I think the challenge that we all face is that while we are on this beautiful spiritual path together, somewhere down the road, most of us have fallen into a modern day spiritual subculture trap that sees the entire purpose of following a spiritual path as nothing more than personal. that the only purpose of following this spiritual path is working on our own spiritual growth so that we can live happier, more fulfilled, more peaceful lives. That is true in part. However, as long as our happiness is all we're seeking, we'll never awaken to the depth of our spiritual passion and conviction that's required to propel us into a place beyond our own ego. That conviction I'm speaking about only arises when we realize that the spiritual path is not only about us, but rather it's about participating in something far greater than ourselves, and that is selfless service. The idea of service or seva is illustrated by an ancient metaphor, the metaphor of the milk pot or vessel. It goes like this. First, you must wash the vessel. Next, you disinfect it with incense, and then and only then is it ready to receive the milk. Because what good is the milk once it's been poured into a soiled receptacle? The dirt of the vessel taints everything that is poured into it. The mind, I think, like the vessel, first needs to be cleansed if one is to prepare it for spiritual things. Otherwise, all effort goes to waste. And this cleansing of the mind that I'm speaking of, this preparation is done with the soap of humanity and humility. And in seeking humility, we recognize humanity. And then, and only then, are we able to recognize the thread of oneness that connects us all. It's about seeing the truth of our beloveds, those individuals that God has entrusted to our care. And who hasn't God entrusted to our care? It's for the sheer sake of seva. It has no other goal. Even the end result is not important. You don't need a smile or a nod, a pat on the shoulder, or the gratitude of another to validate it. You simply do it, and you do it to the best of your ability, and nothing else matters. I think the truth is, it isn't seva if it's for the purpose of getting a tax-deductible receipt. Think about that. It isn't seva if your heart and your soul aren't in it and it feels like a burden. It isn't seva if it isn't done with honesty and integrity. And it isn't seva if you believe that mediocrity is all that's expected of you and that you needn't do more. As we do our service, we must never forget that the highest form of seva is not to talk about what you have done for another, but simply to be there for them and never assume someone else will step in or that you are not qualified to lend a hand. Opportunity for sacred service is happening every day. Speaking up for someone in your community, or helping someone find a job, or befriending some new members of your own community. Saving someone from the pain of humiliation or loneliness is a powerful way to be a positive influence. How about belonging? Being the space where someone can feel like they belong. Over Gandhi's tomb are inscribed the words, "Think of the poorest person you have ever seen or known and ask if your next act will be of any use to him." And one of my favorites, Ram Dass, writes in his book, "How Can I Help?" The most familiar models of who we are, which are father and daughter, doctor and patient, helper and helped, often turn out to be major obstacles to the expression of our caring instincts. They limit the full measure of what we have to offer one another. But when we break through and meet as spirit behind our separateness, we experience profound moments of companionship. These in turn give us access to deeper and deeper levels of generosity and loving kindness. True compassion, you see, arises out of unity. COVID changed everything. Boy, did it change everything. And today we must change, to adapt to this new world. And that includes centers for spiritual living. And I want you to think about this. In the ever evolving landscape of human consciousness, a profound shift is occurring, an awakening to the transformative potential of moving from me to we. And this shift is not just a societal trend, but a spiritual evolution that holds the key to creating a more compassionate and harmonious world. The path of this collective journey aligns beautifully with the sacred practice of seva service. And here's the deal. If we think about spiritual growth, this transition is a natural progression towards a deeper understanding of the interconnectedness of all of life. Because why? Because we are all one. Dr. Holmes teaches us that it is the oneness that binds us. And this in turn should drive a shift, I think, in perspective from self-centeredness to an awareness of the collective. This shift is not about diminishing the importance of the individual. And I'm not talking about not taking care of yourself, because that is just as important, but rather recognizing that our personal growth and well-being are intricately linked to the well-being of the larger community of the world. In the act of serving others without expectation of personal gain, we not only contribute to the well-being of the community that we serve, but also we ourselves experience a profound sense of connection and belonging. And think about this. The essence of seva lies in recognizing the divinity within each individual and understanding our lives are connected to the all. As spiritual leaders, and by gosh, we all are, it's our call to guide our communities towards embracing the value of seva service as a means to anchor the we consciousness. And you can think about this: by fostering a culture of compassion and service, we encourage individuals, our beloveds, to look beyond their personal needs and desires, recognizing the shared humanity that unites us all. And when we do this, what happens is we create a ripple effect of energy that extends far beyond the world we know. Now, here's the deal. This shift from me to we is completely linked to the evolution of global consciousness. And I believe that with my whole heart. As our interconnectedness becomes increasingly apparent, the urgency to address collective challenges such as environmental sustainability and social justice will intensify, and service becomes a powerful tool for creating positive change on a global scale. It can be a beautiful thing to witness as individuals and communities unite in the spirit of service to uplift humanity as a whole. And guess what? That is the world I want to live in. How about you? In the words of Dr. Holmes, I believe that the ultimate goal of life is to be a complete emancipation from all discord of every nature, and that this goal is sure to be attained by all. But he also said, service is not an obligation, it's an opportunity to express our innate goodness and contribute to the well-being of the world. Let me leave you with this today. Again, as spiritual leaders and teachers, our role is to inspire and guide our communities towards this transformative shift that I'm talking about in consciousness. Through the practice of selfless service, we not only contribute to the well-being of the world, but also pave the way for a more compassionate, harmonious, and interconnected reality, one where the power of we becomes a beacon of light for all. Thank you.
Oh.
Peace and blessings.
Oh.